All right, everyone. Toyota Podcast episode 4. And today we have same people as last week. We have Jarren next to me, and then we have Tim in the back. First couple questions. We're going to start off with Grand Highlanders. The first question here is, how long should the turbocharged engine in the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max last? Now, Toyota really doesn't have published lifespan for these right now. However, it's engineered for long-term durability, so regular maintenance should be performed, but I can see it definitely lasting over 200K plus miles. Next question is, can I add the middle seat to the 2026 Grand Highlander Hybrid Max Platinum that came with the captain's chairs?
Short answer is no. It's not a factory option. It comes standard with captain's chairs. And based off the wiring and everything for the heated and ventilated seats, the airbags and everything, it's probably never going to be an option.
Next question is, does the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max come with the 22-inch wheels, or are those only on the Lexus TX?
Oh, that's a good question, folks. It's actually Lexus only.
All right, next question is, why does the Grand Highlander XLE sometimes have a bench seat and other trims have captain's chairs? That's a pretty easy one. It just depends on how you want it configured, but you can get it with a bench or you can get it with the captain's chairs.
Yeah, and on the Grand Highlander, it can be the XLE or Limited, have bench seat options.
Mm-hmm. Is the Grand Highlander Hybrid worth waiting for if a gas model is available now?
That all depends on your specifications and really what you're doing with the vehicle. Some of it's going to depend on how you drive, if you're leasing or financing the vehicle, situation price-wise as well. The average price difference, base MSRP, from a gas Grand Highlander and a regular Highlander hybrid is only $1,350. So, the average person, whenever you look at hybrid versus gas, it's going to take somewhere in about 1.5 to 2 years in fuel efficiency savings to break even cost-wise. So, if you're driving a lot of city mileage, it's going to be worth it. If you're driving highway, it depends. There's only a 5 mile per gallon difference for the highway driving, and it's about 15 mile per gallon difference in the city. So if you're doing a lot of city driving, it definitely makes sense to go hybrid.
What is the practical difference between Grand Highlander Hybrid and Hybrid Max? So the regular hybrid, it prioritizes fuel economy, while the Hybrid Max prioritizes power. With the regular hybrid, you get 245 horsepower with 3,500 pounds of towing, and then you get 36 miles per gallon, versus with the Hybrid Max, you're getting 362 horsepower and 5,000 pounds of towing capacity, and you're going to be sacrificing some fuel economy with that at 27 miles per gallon.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with the Max Platinum is it has a third hybrid engine to run the back wheels. That's where you get that additional power.
All right, will Toyota build a plug-in hybrid Grand Highlander, Land Cruiser, Prado, or Hilux?
Not as of now. However, the industry standard is leaning that way. So possibly in the future.
So although we do have the 27 Highlander hybrid that's going to be coming out.
It is not a hybrid. It is an electric vehicle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say hybrid?
Yes.
Yeah. The hybrid, the Highlander EV. Is all-wheel drive worth it on the Grand Highlander?
Once again, it's kind of an open-ended question. It's really going to depend on geographically where you live. Somebody living in the southern United States, in Florida, or in the Midwest where it's flat, maybe doesn't necessarily need all-wheel drive. In our region, it is more of a sought-after thing. And then, the worth it portion also, depending on where you live, that can affect your trade-in value. All-wheel drive sell a lot better up here versus front-wheel drive for large SUVs. So, it's going to give you, at that point, it's going to be worth going with an all-wheel drive. And it's only about a $1,600 difference going from front-wheel drive to all-wheel drive. So,
next question is the Grand Highlander too big for everyday driving? Well, I mean, it's the Grand Highlander overall, it's a pretty average full-size SUV. I mean, I would say the best way to figure it out is to test it out, like maybe try to fit it in a garage or a parking space and see how it feels for you. Come test drive it at the dealership. But I mean, you also have a lot of safety features, camera, parking sensors in them, so they're a lot easier to drive. I mean, do you guys have anything to add to that? I know this is actually an easy question to answer. But
I mean, it's not that much bigger than the Sienna, which
yeah,
is most people drive every single day, hauling kids around. So
yeah. Can the Sienna second row seats lay flat enough to sleep on?
no. So the second row seats don't even lay flat. They bend kind of at like a 45-degree angle to where you can push them forward. Now the third row does sit flat enough that you can sleep on it, and then you push the second row the whole way up towards your first row, which is what we do whenever we take it to the drive-in and everything. We put either a mat down, or we used to use an air mattress back there.
Next question is Sienna Platinum worth the extra money mainly to get the panoramic view monitor? Well, you don't just get the panoramic view monitor. The Platinum also is going to give you the fridge and the vacuum. And, really it's just, in the end, it's personal preference. But, there's going to be a little bit of a price difference going from a limited to a Platinum. Now, I got to tell you guys a story, because one of my customers ended up coming into the dealership and they pre-ordered a Sienna XSE, and then he reached out to me a couple of days later after he put a deposit on it. He wanted to get the panoramic view monitor, and I said to him, are you sure you want to do that? Because you're gonna have to pay a lot more money to get into a Platinum to get that panoramic view monitor. So he decided to stay with the XSE. Are the Sienna XSE seats more comfortable than the XLE or limited seat?
That's a good question. The XSE has a sportier appearance. However, comfort is subjective. So if you could arrange back-to-back demo drives, that's the ideal answer there.
I mean, the seat alone, they're all soft tech interior. Whenever you look at the XLE, the XSE, the Limited has actual leather, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So, the Limited may be a little bit more comfortable, might break down a little bit easier, maybe make a little softer. But the XSE and the XLE, they're still soft tech. It's just the, moonstone interior, black interior.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well,
versus an all gray interior. It's really just more of a color option than anything.
And we're talking about the Sienna here again, right? Yeah. The Sienna. What's really interesting about the Sienna, though, is that the third row is a soft tex interior. Just the third row. Did you guys know that?
No.
So if you look up the specs, just the third row in the Sienna, the higher trim levels, you don't get leather. You get soft tex interior. It is weird. It is crazy.
Probably has to do with the heated and ventilated seats more than anything.
Probably. Grand Highlander or Sienna, which has more usable cargo room with every seat in use for a wheelchair or mobility equipment? I actually didn't even look up I should have looked up all the cargo volume, but obviously if you want more space, more cargo space for all your passengers, the Toyota Sienna is going to be a lot better. Plus you have, the sliding opening doors, and you have the stowaway seats in the back. And, I had a customer of mine that said they wanted to get a Sienna so they can put a wheelchair in it, and they're actually going to end up getting one of those like mechanical ones where they're going to talk to the VA about getting that installed and everything.
Ones.
So, but yeah, if you want the space, the Sienna is definitely the way to go. Grand Highlander is more just practical, in other ways, but fuel economy is very similar. But in the Grand Highlander, you can also get a gas model. The Siennas are all hybrid, so it really just depends. Why can't the Sienna second row seats be removed easily?
So they can be removed. It is not very easy. I had a customer that said he can take them in and out within 10, 15 minutes. But the real major reason is safety. So all the airbags, all the sensors, and then the supplemental restraint systems. If you've ever looked at a Sienna up on the gauge cluster, it shows you each sensor for each entire seat.
Yeah.
That somebody's in there or not. So you have to disconnect all those sensors. You have to disconnect the airbag sensors, which sometimes can pull codes and everything, and it might actually stop the vehicle from driving. But that's really the main reason, is safety.
And I've seen a lot. I remember one of my customers came in, he wanted to order a Sienna, but then he found out that the second row seats weren't easy to remove. And I coincidentally, that same day I went into the shop and they were they were unbolting and taking everything apart for the second row seats, and I saw all the pieces on the ground. There's a lot involved with those second row seats.
Oh yeah.
Is all-wheel drive worth it on the Toyota Sienna?
That's a good question. Absolutely, it is. You get better traction, and most importantly, you get more power.
Does the Toyota Sienna feel underpowered? For normal family driving, the hybrid system is adequate, I would say. I mean, you get 245 net combined horsepower. Luckily, you get that hybrid system too. So I would test drive it for yourself to see how it really feels. And again, you know, Jarren, you have a Sienna, so how do you feel about it?
In my personal opinion, no, I don't think it's underpowered. We used to have a Highlander, and I think that the Sienna actually drives a heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
is there a noticeable ride quality difference between the Camry LE and SE?
So personally, I don't believe so. I've driven both of them.
The difference.
Some people will say that, and it's not necessarily just the sport tune suspension leaning into curves a little bit more, but the SE, whenever you replace the tires, they are a smaller aspect tire. I mean, so there's not as much to them, versus the LE is going to have a wider, softer tire. So the LE is going to drive, you know, more for that like everyday smooth driving. The SE is going to give you a more of a sporty feel, having, you know, those smaller tires on them.
Should a casual camper buy a Tacoma TRD Sport or save money on an SR5? So I wrote down a couple notes here regarding the different. I mean, the TRD Sport is more of an appearance package, and it has that sport tune suspension, and it's better for on-road comfort. And if you want, to be honest with you, the SR5 is definitely going to be a better route for you if you're just casually like hauling things, fishing, or just doing like regular camping. Also, the price point, the difference between the two is about a $3,000 difference just in the starting price. With an SR5, you can get one for $42,550, and the TRD Sport starts at $45,260. So,
and also when you're looking at that, I'm not going to say you shouldn't be comparing the SR5 and the Sport, but if you're camping, I mean, SR5 versus off-road would be more beneficial than the Sport.
Yeah,
because they both have limited slip differentials. So.
Yeah. And the SR5 too is more customizable. So if you wanted to have more variations, or if you were a little bit more picky on how you wanted it configured, the SR5 has more options. Does the turbocharged Tacoma require premium fuel, and does premium add more power or fuel economy?
Toyota does not require premium fuel with any Tacoma. Always remember to check the fuel door label. However, some of the forums do say that you get a little more torque if you use premium fuel. So if you are towing or using the turbo a lot, premium fuel will help you out a little bit.
How reliable has the current generation Tacoma been so far, and can the turbo engine really last 300,000 miles?
It's been great so far. I mean, we haven't seen any issues with it. I mean, other than like little stuff, but that happens anytime you do a complete generation change. But with proper maintenance, longevity is more likely. I mean, if you use the right type of oils, change your oil frequently to run through the turbo, and then, you know, as long as you warm up the vehicle and the turbo, there shouldn't be any issues.
Next question is the Tacoma iForce Max hybrid worth the extra money? The hybrid is going to have more torque and horsepower, so in the end it really just depends on, you know, what's important to you. The fuel economy is almost the same on both. The gasket's 278 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque, and then you're getting 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque on the hybrid. Now the towing capacity is a little bit better on the gas models. I believe it's up to 6,400 pounds.
Yes.
And then for the hybrids, it's 6,000. Which Tacoma trim gives the best value? If you want to,
I personally think that the SR5 gives you the best value. I mean, it's still a truck that you can take anywhere with its limited slip differential. You know, as long as you know how to operate a vehicle in off-road scenarios, the SR5 is a lot more customizable, a lot more accessories and stuff that you can put on. You know, and then also if you're comparing, you know, an off-road versus a pro and a trail hunter, the off-road is the best value, because you can do everything you can with the pro and the trail hunter. Just, you know, you may have to make some modifications, but you don't need to do all the modifications that come on a trail hunter. if you get an off-road.
This one I had to do a little bit of research on, but it says, why spend 4Runner TRD Pro money instead of buying a Lexus GX? So if you buy the base Lexus GX, it's close to the TRD Pro, but you're not going to get all the off-road capabilities. You'd have to go over to the GX Overtrail or the Overtrail Plus, which if you get the Overtrail, it starts at $75,000 versus the Pro starts at $68,400. Now, the Overtrail Plus is $83,000. Yes, you do get the V6, and you do get a little bit more horsepower and a lot more towing capacity in the GX. But again, in the end, if you want something that's going to be better overall for off-roading, the TRD Pro is going to do better. If you want more of that luxury, go with the GX. It's crazy, honestly. The horsepower is not that much of a difference between the 4Runner and the GX.
No, the towing.
It's that towing. You get 9,096 towing on the GX versus 6,000 on the TRD Pro. But you're also putting premium fuel in the GX, so you got to keep that in mind because it's going to cost you a little bit more money.
Should I buy a 4Runner TRD off-road or Trail Hunter? In my opinion, I think you should go with the off-road. Now, the Trail Hunter, if you have the money, it's a great option. But the off-road is going to give you more capability of accessorizing, customizing it to exactly how you off-road. Now, if you're comparing those two vehicles too, you can get an off-road with the premium package to get more of those luxury features or the more tech. So heated and ventilated seats, soft tech interior, that stuff. But, whenever you're looking at modifying a 4Runner or a Tacoma, the big thing to take into account is if you're not doing TRD customizations, sometimes that can affect your warranty. So, if it's under warranty, you might want to just go with a Pro or a Trail Hunter just so it doesn't cost you more in the long run if something happens.
Yeah. Is KDSS gone forever on the 6th generation 4Runner?
Yes, it is currently gone. However, Toyota welcomes the new suspension and off-road technologies like the stability bar disconnect system.
Is the 6th generation 4Runner reliable yet? There's just not enough feedback or data out there right now to be able to answer that question at the moment. Which 4Runner trim gives the best value? That's also subjective.
I would say that's the same as the Tacoma that we kind of covered. So
yeah, there's so many different variations. I did a buyer's guide on the 4Runners. You guys can watch that in the link above. Is the RAV4 Woodland worth buying? Again, that's also subjective. I mean, it all depends on what you're going to be using it for. It's definitely it's better for camping and more off-roading just because of the way it's set up. But you also have the option of getting it in a plug-in too.
I like the color combinations that you're able to get in it too. The stepping stone?
Yeah,
it's one of the coolest colors I've seen. So,
RAV4 XLE Premium or Limited, which should you buy?
Once again, it's kind of up to your personal preference and what you're looking for in a vehicle. Yep. You can get an XLE Premium that's very similar to what the previous generation XLE is, but with soft tech interior. The Limited is going to give you the option to get it fully loaded.
Right.
So, there's ways to get within those two trim levels. You can kind of get them built 4 separate ways. So, it's going to depend on you.
Can I tow with the RAV4? So all RAV4s are hybrid and plug-in, and it says that if you get the front-wheel drive, it tows 1,750, and then if you get the all-wheel drive, it's 3,500 pounds. I don't think there's a difference. Is there with other ones?
The only thing I
didn't even see with the Woodland.
I feel like that might just be a thing right now. Previous generations, we were able to do factory-installed
the
towing packages or tow hitch receivers. Right now, at least at our dealership, we don't have the option to install those. And when you look at the Build a Toyota website, there's no option to put a trailer hitch or tow hitch on any of them.
Yeah.
It comes standard on the Woodland.
Toyota technology and ownership questions. Will the future Land Cruiser have Toyota Safety Sense 4.0? And is Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 better than 3.0? I've done a whole video talking about Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 and the new RAV4s. You guys can watch that video. But right now, we don't know because the new 27s have 3.0. Why do some Toyota remote start vehicles shut off when the door opens? Can that be changed?
Simple thing is it is an anti-theft device. If you have your vehicle started, somebody could break your window if they open up the door. It'll shut the engine off. Some of the premium grade models like the Grand Highlander Platinum Max, I don't think shuts off, but it is an anti-theft device.
What do owners lose if they do not renew Toyota Connected Services after the free trial? You don't get Remote Connect, so you can't remote start the vehicle from the app or locate your vehicle. You don't get the digital key, which is your phone essentially is a second key for it. And then you can't share your digital key. You also miss out on the cloud navigation, so you don't get that or the voice assistant and the destination assist with the vehicle health reports. Why will the Toyota app not connect to a recent purchased used Toyota, and how is the previous owner removed?
Well, it's because it's still linked. You can remove it through the app or through the multimedia settings.
All right, next question is, can Toyota digital key replace my physical key?
So the answer is yes and no. Yes, it can replace your physical key. What it does is it copies your RFID chip to your account, but then you will have to renew your subscription and everything to use it, like we kind of answered in the previous question. But it's not recommended to use it as like an everyday key or replace your key, because some of the connectivity sometimes can be, shaky if something happens, if there's no 5G or anything. The other thing is that, if your battery dies in your phone, you can't start your vehicle, you may be lost somewhere. So I would not recommend replacing your key with it. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to end this video. It's actually towards the end of the day. We're about to close, and we still have a lot of questions to answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to save a lot of these questions for next week, and then I'll add some questions to that. I also have some TikTok questions that I'm going to be answering. And again, I have Jarren with me, and I have Tim, and they both have YouTube channels. I'm going to be linking their profiles in the description of this video. And if you're a big Toyota fan, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video.